Chapter 6, The System is the Solution, Automation and Delegation. Automation just means that things run automatically. The two components required for this are effective organizational systems like the one we've included here in our book, and delegation. One of our nicknames is the king and queen of automation and delegation, so we love training investors on these subjects. We actually created an entire program on this. Check it out at thewolfcouple.com. It features great training, checklists, flowcharts, and more. Thinker brains love it. It's our automation and organization system. So we'll start with this simple but precise organizational system for your office paper flow, and then we'll follow that up with more on delegation. Steps of deal file organization. Here's a clear explanation of the system and some of the forms to use to organize your office and your deals in progress. It's best to keep it as simple as possible so you don't get tangled up in the paperwork or start overthinking and wasting time on this part of the business. Step 1. Get 3 standing file racks. Rack number 1 holds file folders number 1, 2, and 3. Rack number 2 holds property files in progress. Rack number 3 holds buyer leads. Step 2. Label one file folder number 1 intake sellers and another one number 2 intake buyers. All lead sheets, seller info scripts, FSBO call scripts, any property information forms or lead sheets, any answering service forms, pretty or ugly house buyer info scripts, all lead sheets go into one of these 2 file folders. Step 3. Go through these folders daily and pre-screen out the obvious suspects. Put them into number 3 file folder labeled Suspects. Pick a time on the same day each week to scan through and see if there are any worth calling. Spend almost no time on the phone here. Be quick to say thanks anyway, bye. Step 4. Schedule a time each night to call the prospects in file number 1 and file number 2. Pre-screen to figure out what type of seller or buyer you are dealing with by using our pre-screening guide. Use the matching closing call scripts in the What to Say manuals. Step 5. The lead sheets that don't result in an appointment go into either file folder number 3, Suspects, or your follow-up file box or drawer. Your follow-up file box or drawer is set up with 31 file folders labeled 1 through 31, signifying dates of the month. Depending on your closing call conversation, put them in the appropriate file, i.e., example, if today is the 1st and you want to call them back in a week, put them in file folder number 8. Okay? Check follow-ups from this special file each day, and that way you'll always have a perfect follow-up system for your paper leads. Step number 6. For leads resulting in appointments or calls for further action, you're going to give them their own file. They become file worthy. Step number 6 is you're also going to be labeling the file with the property address, so it'll say across the top 1234 Jones Avenue, and you're going to attach the matching step-by-step checklist to the inside front cover. We want you to keep track of what stage the deal is in by writing in dates for each completed action step in that checklist. Make sure to type the same info into any deal organizational chart if you're using the one from our system or any other kind of logging system or customer tracking database. We also want you to print off a comment log from our 20 must-have forms data CD and put it in each file. You're going to put all the paperwork, your lead sheet, all your comps, your title report, your agreements, any interested buyers, all your flyers, your home marketing flyer will all go into this file folder. So once this is a deal in progress in this file folder, it's going to be in rack number 2. All property files will be in file rack number 2, and awaiting qualified buyers, which are coming from file rack number 3. So once a buyer shows interest in one place, and you may meet a lot of buyers obviously at your open houses, you're going to move their file actually into the property file of the house they're interested in. Number 7, when a deal is closed and the buyer has taken residence in the property, you're going to move that file into a closed deal file box or drawer. So you can have a separate section for lease purchase and work for equity buyers because they're going to require some ongoing servicing, collecting payments and whatnot. Now as needed, you're going to buy more file racks, more boxes and more drawers, and that's a good thing. It means you're doing more deals. So now that we've covered the basics of paper organization and your paper lead organization, let's turn to delegation. I love this topic. This list that we're going to go over here covers the key team members to whom you'll be delegating, plus the duties you'll be delegating to them, and the most important pre-screening questions to ask. Often you can get good referrals for your dream team members from other investors at your local Real Estate Investing Association meetings. Those are your RIA meetings. We recommend you attend, plus guess what? You look smart if you carry this book with you. How's that? So let's go over now the form for My Dream Team. Number one, your printer. Their main duty is to print your marketing materials, including your business cards. Some questions that you're going to ask them are, what do you charge for different kinds of business cards? How long would it take to get the business cards back? What do you charge for black ink on colored 8.5 by 11 paper if you're going to do flyers? 4 cents is pretty good on a colored flyer like that. Number two, a title agent. Their main duty is to pull title reports, and sometimes you will have a title agent do a closing for you. So a big question is, how quickly can you pull a title report? 2 to 3 days is good in most areas. And what are they going to charge you for it? That's important. You can ask them, since I'll be spending a lot of time with you, working with you, and I'll be sending you all my business, would you be able to order reports for me for free or at a big discount? That's a big ask. A lot of times you're going to pay for title reports, so not a big deal, but try to find somebody you can work with and who seems flexible and easy to work with. Number three, you're going to need an insurance agent. Their main duty is to insure your properties against loss. So you're going to ask them, what are your rates for landlord insurance? And do you have any issues with keeping the original mortgagee as a loss payee on the policy? Now, this is when you do a owner financing with an underlying mortgage. This is important. It's kind of a detailed point, but it's important to know. And your insurance person, the right insurance person, will be able to help you with this. You can also ask them, can you write insurance policies on vacant houses? Some insurance companies will not do that during a rehab. Okay, number four, your fourth person on your dream team is your real estate attorney. So their duties will be doing closings for you on properties and also handling evictions if you have to evict people, which you don't have to do that often with lease purchase buyers. And you're going to ask your real estate attorney, have you worked with investors? Do you do closings for investors? And you can ask them if they're comfortable with owner financing deals or lease purchase deals, but I don't want you asking them if they are comfortable with subject to deals, because they're not going to be. And so don't even broach the topic. Don't even get into that. Get them to say yes and help you with a couple of contracts first before you get into that. And you can ask them what they charge to send out notices. There's different notices in each state. You know, some of them are to pay or vacate, eviction notices, whatever, and find out how much that costs too. Another big point with your attorney is how quickly can you usually schedule closing appointments. So if it's going to take them 2 weeks to get a closing appointment scheduled, that's kind of far out. Hopefully it's within a week. And your number five person on your dream team will be a mortgage broker. Your main duties of a mortgage broker is to pull credit on your lease purchase buyers, so you know what you're dealing with, and help your lease purchase buyers get mortgages. Another thing your mortgage broker can do is help you with sellers and help you figure out how you can get a seller to leave the mortgage in their name and still be able to get their next mortgage. They can help you with that as well. I like to ask a mortgage broker, how many different lenders do you work with? Be careful when you ask someone if they're a mortgage broker or not. Sometimes they'll say yes because they know you want them to say yes, but every loan they do goes through one lender. So in reality, while they can broker loans out, they don't. So make sure you ask them, not only are you a broker, but do you use many different lenders in your business? What's the lowest credit score and highest debt ratio that you can get approved for a mortgage right now? And do you have any special programs that are working real well right now? So in different areas, you might have different programs with different lenders. Number six, everybody's going to have realtors on their dream team. And your realtors can fulfill a couple different functions. Their main duty is to find you deals on the MLS and run comps for you as well. You are going to ask them, do you work with many investors? Usually realtors who work with investors are a little specialized, so you want a realtor who's comfortable working with investors. Do you deal mainly with pretty houses or ugly houses? That's a good question. Most of them deal with pretty houses, so you're in the right range. Have you worked with lease purchases or owner financing? It's a good question. See if they're flexible in their mind. Can you find good deals on ugly houses now in the MLS? Usually in most areas, you know, depending on how hot the market is, sometimes that's difficult realtor, not so difficult. It's a great question though for any realtor. Can you do a search for all properties in my farm area listed at $20 below average price per square foot in the area? You're going to just get a number. So if you know that $150,000 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath is a steal, just tell them to look for anything under $150,000. So you can sort of give them some parameters, but $20 below the average price per square foot is another target that they can aim for when they do a search. So you're also going to ask them, could you do an MLS search for me for all properties that have just gone over 120 or 90 or 60 days listed, because you can target those properties. Those might be some motivated sellers. Also, expired properties. If you're going to mail to expired listings, the only place to get those is from a realtor. So this is another service that a realtor, a good realtor, will provide you. Now, we warm up the realtor a little bit before you get to asking them all these questions. You don't want to grill them on the first call. Basically, you just want to ask them if they work with investors and can they look up some properties for you. Don't get into all this advanced marketing requests right away. Eventually, you'll get these lists for your marketing purposes. Number 7 on our list for your dream team is a hard money lender. Now, their duty is to give you money for rehabs or short sales. So how quickly can you close is a big question, because you got to know if they've got the money to close quickly. Certainly within 30 days, best if they can close in 10 days, because then you know they can just write a check. What's the highest LTV, loan to value percentage that you go? 70% is usually about the best, maybe 75%, 65% is common. Now, private money lenders, number 8, that's a little bit of a different animal, although very similar in terms of the loan to value that they'll loan. Their main duty is they give you money to buy and fix properties, so rehabs, but usually you can get a little better terms. A hard money lender might want 10% or 12% interest and 4 points or 5 points or more, whereas a private money lender probably won't even ask for points and may give you a rate closer to 6 or 7%. So maybe a little bit better rates, a little better terms, but again, pretty much only loaning up to 70% for rehabs. Now, you might ask them, have you ever invested in real estate before? Do you have capital that you could put out right now for a high return and guaranteed by real estate? Those are questions you want to ask a private lender. Number 9, you're going to need some contractors. There's a lot of different reasons you're going to need contractors as needed for these main duties. They're going to do property upgrades, upkeep, and all kinds of miscellaneous. So let's just whip through these. You're going to need a contractor, just general cleaning. You're going to need cleaners. Painters, you're going to need interior painters and exterior painters. You're going to need a flooring person. You're going to need someone who can do carpet cleaning. Sometimes you can get away with just cleaning the carpets. The flooring person, you're going to want them capable of doing carpet, laminate, any kind of upgraded flooring. Next, window coverings. You're going to want someone who can handle the windows, put on blinds and all that. Next is general home repairs, a handyman. So you're going to want someone who's a handyman. A plumber, you're going to need a plumber sooner or later. You're going to also need a roofer. That's a specialized trade. You can get somebody sometimes to patch a roof, but not to do a whole roofing job. So you're probably going to need a roofer at some point. Landscaper, for sure you're going to need landscapers for every house you do. You're always going to need landscapers, and you may need landscapers on an ongoing basis to do yard maintenance and mowing, that kind of thing. So yard maintenance, you're going to want to have someone who can just do the mowing, and that's sort of a weekly chore, not as much as the landscaping. Next, snow removal. Guys, obviously if you live in the south, you're not going to have that issue, but if you live in the north, and I grew up in Minnesota, snow removal is obviously a big issue, so you're going to have to find somebody who can handle that. Junk removal, that's always good to have someone for that. Pest inspection and pest removal, pest control, that's obviously a big issue depending on where in the country you are. Pool maintenance, if the house has a pool, you got to have somebody who can do the pool maintenance. A lot of times you're going to turn all these things over to your lease purchase buyer, and they'll be paying for these people, but they're going to want references. So they're going to ask you, is there a good termite guy or is there a good pool guy? And so it's best if you actually have your lease purchase tenant using your people, because then you'll always know the condition of the property. And if the pool is going down quickly because they're not treating it right, you'll know from your own pool guy. Now, another person you're going to want on your team is a home inspector, someone who can do home inspections for you. And another one is a locksmith. Sometimes you need to change locks on your properties, of course. The next one is a residential alarm company. A lot of times you might want to put some kind of alarm on your properties. And then another person is credit repair. You're going to need somebody who can help your lease purchase buyers eventually get qualified. And our very last person under contract is a real estate auctioneer. If you're going to do something with option properties and looking for cash out buyers, that would be a strategy that you would use, is hiring a real estate auctioneer. The truly key member of your dream team that you're going to be delegating the most to is when you hire your first acquisitionist. They're going to help you with every part of the business, including your closing calls and your deal meetings, which are the most important two parts of the business of all. So let's go through the acquisitionist main job duties who you will be delegating to very quickly in this business. So number one, they need to generate and collect incoming lead sheets. If you have a FSBO caller, they're collecting the lead sheets from them, and they're generating by making outbound calls as well. This should take them approximately 2 hours per week. And now they're going to also take and respond to incoming calls, and that should maybe take about an hour per week. Number two, they're going to make closing calls and set appointments. Now, if your business is really thriving, this may take 3 to 10 hours per week, and that would be awesome. You really want to keep them focused on doing deals, and closing calls is the highest and best use of their time. Number three, you want them to keep detailed notes on the closing call prep sheets. This is really important. I'm even going to put 2 hours of time devoted towards this per week, because these notes are crucial for you to understand the deals and for them to remember how to close these deals. Number four, they're going to research properties on the internet and compute the comps. This might take a couple hours per week. Hopefully they're processing a lot of properties, so that does take some time on the computer to get the numbers all figured out. Number five, they're going to complete agreements and documents. So that's all of your, obviously the purchase and sale agreement or lease option agreement is the crucial one, and then all those other documents that are in your file along with that. That may take them 3 hours to get all that typed up and go out to the house and present it to the sellers. Number six, do deal meetings and get the documents signed. Obviously, getting the signature on the bottom line is the goal. So they want to go out and do 2 of these per week at least, deal meetings, and this might take as long as 8 hours. They're going to commute, and these are all very important appointments. I want them to take the time and do these right. Number 7 in the acquisitionist main job duties is using our daily ultimate follow-up system to follow up on all the leads. This is going to take a couple hours per week, and I really want them to stay on top of that. And then number 8, I want them to maintain adequate organization. So that means going through the files, making sure they're following the system that we just presented earlier in this chapter on deal organization. Now, guys, we've got a couple of our favorite student stories coming up next. Blair, he's a blessing and a shining example to others, and Dixie and Brandon are a real hoot and crazy successful now. Guys, we love reading about our students' successes. As you can see in this picture in the book, you can see our binder of testimonials is thicker than a phone book. So let's look at Blair's story. He's in Clements, North Carolina, and his story in our book is accompanied by a check for $20,000. So let's hear from Blair. He says, I just completed my first Pretty House deal and brought home my first 5-figure check. To say this event has changed my life is an understatement. For the past 7 months, I've grown personally, financially, and spiritually through this process of getting to this point. When I started, I was physically shaking with fear, but I knew that if I didn't get over this hump, my life would never change and I'd be stuck in my dead-end career forever. I received a call and went to the house of a seller named Tammy. It was clear she was not going to let me leave without me buying her house. It was a very well-kept 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a deck on the back, a nice yard, nice area. It was perfect. Now, she was going on disability, she was scared, and had been praying for a solution. I almost cried when she told me I was the answer to her prayers. We got the paperwork done, and when I left her house, this whole business suddenly just clicked for me. There's no other way to describe it. All of a sudden, I had 100% clarity on everything the Wolfs had been teaching me and telling me all these months. It was a major turning point in my life that I'll never forget. You know how you hear Brian on stage talking about all this stuff and it almost seems too good to be true? But I'm here to tell you that it's all true. Every word of it. I bought the house subject to a $91,000 first mortgage with a $730 a month payment plus $1,500 cash to the seller to help her move into her new apartment. Less than a week after closing, I got a buyer who loved the house and put $20,000 down. She is ecstatic that she was able to buy this house even though no bank would even give her a loan. She now has a beautiful new home for her and her daughter, and her life has changed dramatically because of it. This past Friday, I left the attorney's office with a $20,000 check in my hand and a completely new outlook on life, on business, on myself, and on my future. After the turning point I had when it all clicked for me, I went from one deal every 2 to 3 months to now picking up 4 contracts in the past 4 weeks, and a 5th one I'm picking up tomorrow. I've now hired an assistant to help me keep up with all of this, and I'm delegating more and more to her every day. I sleep very well knowing my future is looking 10 times brighter than before. My assistant loves her new career. I'm helping home sellers with some of the worst situations in their lives and helping buyers get into homes they otherwise wouldn't be able to buy. Brian and Lynette, you have changed my life and my family's life forever, and I can't thank you enough. I thank God that He brought us together and He gave me the courage and persistence to stick with it and follow through. This is a whole new world, and I'm so very grateful. Oh, I love Blair's story and his beautiful family. There's a beautiful picture of his family in our book. And now there's another great picture of Dixie and Brandon Rosa in Springfield, Missouri, another one of our favorite students. They say, thanks to the Wolfs motivational program, we kept pushing forward into this new world of pretty houses, coming from the flipping, work really hard world. The Wolfs teach you what to say, how to say it, so much great information. Thank you for getting us to focus on building the whole company while our automation is working for us. Prior to this program, we would meet every buyer and every seller and make multiple phone calls to talk to everyone and get nothing else done. Now we're making big, regular checks, and we've done dozens of deals. We're making hundreds of thousands of dollars per year in real estate now. Thank you so much for changing our lives. They're doing so well. We love Dixie and Brandon and their wonderful success story.